Hi, David here, and welcome back to the channel where we're looking at life in spirit through the automatic writings of early 20th century medium James Padgett. At the moment, we're looking at a group of messages all given to James on the evening of March 7, 1916. On that evening, James heard from 3 people in spirit, each one giving him quite a detailed message. This was one of the evenings when James helped people in spirit who were struggling to make progress or in a condition of darkness. And these are useful messages to let us get a better understanding of exactly what is meant by that. The second of the March 7 messages is from a man by the name of John Carlisle, who was a prominent US politician, and, as I mentioned in the previous video, ultimately a very unpopular one by the time he resigned as Secretary of the Treasury in 1896. Last week we looked at the first message from Carlisle, given on November 20, 1915. And today we're going to continue with his March 1916 message. So this is 4 months after his first message. John begins as follows. I am here, John G. Carlisle. I am the spirit who wrote you once before, and I merely want to say tonight that I am better than I was then, and am not in so much darkness, but yet I suffer, and am paying the penalty for my sins. The advice that you gave me, and also the help that I received from Mr. Riddle, have benefited me a great deal, and I am hoping that sometime I may get into the light and be free from my sufferings. If you watched the last video, you may remember that James asked his wife Helen, in spirit, if she could find Anthony Riddle, also in spirit, to come and talk to John Carlisle and advise him. So Carlisle's first message ended with him being left in Riddle's hands. Anthony Riddle was James's old law partner before he passed to spirit. Carlisle continues, if I could only have faith in what he and other good spirits tell me, I believe that I would soon be in a much better condition. But somehow I don't seem to be able to have this faith. My old ideas stick to me, and although I realize that many of them were wrong, yet they cling to me and hold me in the darkness and sufferings. This may seem strange to you, but it is a fact. Beliefs are wonderful things of substance and strength when they have become fixed in a man's mind by long years, acquiescence and fostering. And that was my case. We are often taught by spirit that thoughts are real, in a way more so than physical items in our world, which are easily cast off when we leave it, just as our physical form is. Our thoughts, by contrast, are the clothing for the soul that we continue to wear. Carlisle knows that some of his thoughts, his preconceived notions, his beliefs and attitudes are wrong, yet they are just how he is used to thinking. They set the pattern that his mind follows. And because he has paid little attention to his soul development, his soul is yet too weak to overcome or correct his habits of mind. John Carlisle goes on to say to James Padgett, as you may know, my animal appetites were strong, and I gave free vent to them. And to ease my conscience, I embraced certain beliefs. which, as I lived and fostered them, came to be realities to me. And now they stand before me, as it were, like a wall of brass, and rarely give me an opening to get beyond or out of them. My friends that you brought to me are trying to help me, and at times I feel that what they tell me must be true. But then comes in the old long years of belief, and I lose the benefit of what influence I may have received from these spirits, who I see are so beautiful and happy. So under the influence of others who are more spiritually developed than himself, Carlisle feels that a different perspective is possible, that a different way of looking at things is there to be had, but when he is apart from that influence and reliant upon himself, he is not capable of hanging on to that feeling, and his old thoughts and habits of mind reassert themselves. So although people in spirit who are in a similar condition to Carlisle tend to be described as dark spirits in the Padgett messages, we might also say that they are spiritually weak. Carlisle continues, I do not understand this enigma, and because I do not, I sometimes think that what I see in these others are mere hallucinations of my own mind. And then again, these influences come to me with such force that I think I must break away from these bands of belief and see the light as they see it. But the struggle is hard, and the progress is slow. So the condition of darkness or weakness that Carlisle experiences means that when he sees the condition of those who are trying to help him, he feels so far removed from what they are like that he almost wonders if they are real, or if it is even possible that he could ever be like them. The language John Carlisle is using here is very reminiscent of someone who is trying to escape an addiction. He has moments when he feels hopeful under the influence of those trying to help him, followed by relapses. And yet, he doesn't say that there is no hope for him, but that progress is slow. And he does begin this message by telling James Padgett that he is in a better condition than he was when he first communicated. Slow progress is still progress, and everything is process. In what John says next, we see that he has achieved a certain distance from his earth life. He has been able to reflect on it and draw some conclusions about it. I tell you that if only I could come again into my earth life, I know that my life, or rather the way I lived it, would be very different. But it is too late now, and I must make my fight here. And it is a hard one. Clearly, this is something that is said with the benefit of hindsight. Probably all of us can say that we might have lived differently if we knew at the outset what we have learned along the way. But that in itself is a sign of growth, a sure sign that we are not who we were when we made those choices. The choices we made in the past were the outcome of who we were then, which gives them a certain inevitability, which is what people mean when they point out that character is fate. That can seem a bit fatalistic, but the trick is to remember that our character is something we can work on. And when we work on our character for the better, we change our fate for the better. John Carlisle is a different man from the one who contacted James Padgett a few months previously, because he has learned that there is hope for him, even if he doesn't yet have a very firm grip on it. He goes on to tell Padgett, the thing that gives me greatest hope is that Riddle may not have been so bad a man as I was on earth. Yet he was a mere man with no special pretensions to goodness. And now I see him a beautiful and happy spirit, and he says it is not on account of any inherent goodness in himself, but because he has received, to some degree, what he calls the divine love. And he urges me to try to believe in this love and open up my soul to its inflowing. It may be right, but I don't seem to be able to understand what he means or to find a way to open up my soul as he advises. So although at this point Carlisle is struggling to get his head around what Anthony Riddle has told him, we see here what it is that he has been told. It is possible to make progress through developing our capacity for natural love, but Riddle has shared with Carlisle the possibility of sharing in God's love, divine love, which transforms the soul in ways that remake it so that there is nothing for the law of compensation to work upon. The message that Riddle and all others in spirit who know of divine love say is that it is there for the asking through prayer. It's almost too simple a message to be convincing, and Carlisle is clearly yet to be convinced, although he does say about Anthony Riddle, but this I know, he has given me hope, and I at times make the effort to follow his advice, and I even pray. But I am afraid that my faith is not very strong, though I observe that when he is with me, I seem to have more power to make this effort than when I am alone. So although divine love comes to each individual soul directly from God, we have seen time and again that it makes an enormous difference to people in spirit when they have with them someone who is a living example of what it is to share in divine love. Someone who can not only tell, but show. And that's as true in this world as it is in spirit, even with people who think they only see with the physical eyes. There is still the potential for their soul to be touched by the kindness that comes naturally to a soul who shares in divine love. Carlisle goes on to say about Riddle, and he is kind to me, for he comes quite frequently. And at times there comes with him a wonderfully beautiful spirit, who he says is your wife, and she seems to have much love with her. I say she comes with him, and when she does, her influence is wonderful, and I feel nearer leaving my old evil thoughts and getting into light than at any other time. And she talks to me in such words of love and encouragement that it makes me believe that there must be a better place and a better condition for me. So we see again how hard-working James Padgett's wife Helen is. She hasn't merely introduced Carlisle and Riddle, but continues to support Riddle in helping Carlisle. And John Carlisle clearly tells us of the difference that her presence makes to him. So life in spirit is very much about giving practical support to others. John Carlisle goes on to give this caution. So you see from all this what thoughts and beliefs cemented to a man's soul by an evil life on earth will do for him when he becomes a spirit. And all these evil deeds come before him like a panorama, as they do in my case. As we've seen, everyone's deeds come before them like a panorama. whether it's a panorama made up of evil deeds or ones we can look back upon with satisfaction, is entirely down to how we choose to fill our time while we are here. Mine, I'm sure, will be a bit of a mixed bag, but hopefully I have a few more years ahead of me, during which I can throw a few more grains of sand on the right side of the scales, or cast a few more seeds that will land on fertile soil. John Carlisle concludes his message saying, "But I sowed, and I am now reaping." A saying which I often heard on earth, but which to me was meaningless, as it is, I have no doubt, to many others who are living such lives as I lived. Well, my friend, I must not write more, but I feel better, for I realise that it does me good to come in contact, in the way of exchanging thoughts, with a mortal. For notwithstanding that I have no mortal body, yet in thought and desires, I am still a mortal. So thanking you for your kindness to me, I will say good night. Your friend, J.G.C. So John Carlisle still has a lot of hard work in front of him, but compared with how he sounded in his last message, which we looked at in video 214, there is a glimmer of hope. That's really why I wanted to go through that last message with you, because when you look at both of them, the one we've looked at today does read differently. In the next video, in this midweek series, I'll take you through the third and final message from John Carlisle to James, which was given in September 1917, a year and a half later. The next video in the Divine Love series will be video 1015 this coming Sunday, where we'll be looking at a message from Jesus given on October 10, 1915, in which he explains what he means by faith, how it can be obtained and strengthened, and why that matters so much. So I hope you'll join me for one or other of those. As always, if you've enjoyed this video, please do like and subscribe if you haven't already, as it does help to introduce the material to others. In the meantime, as always, thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time. Take care until then. Bye-bye.